What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and we're back for another episode of the third-person action RPG tutorial series. In the previous episode, we were going over our interaction system and finalizing a lot of that behavior. We have a few other things that we can do with it, and I think all those things are very useful and things that we will be covering in the series, but we have a few other things that we need to improve upon, such as our interactions with NPCs. So you see, as we look at our character here, or NPC, we are initiating interaction with them. And so as I continue to look at them, the interaction continues to be entered. And then when we stop looking at them, it does finally stop. So in the previous episode, we did go over making sure that our interaction worked for our items, which we can showcase here. So if I look at my sword, I can equip it. Okay, great. And now I can also overlap with items such as our axe and pick it up that way. So this is working as expected, and we can interact with everything this way. Our armor, our weapons, and our NPCs, but the NPC's logic is slightly different, and because of that, it is initiating this little bug here where we continuously interact with the NPC. So first thing we're going to do in today's episode is fix this issue, make sure that NPCs also work with our new system, and we're also going to improve the NPC interaction as well. Things like NPC interactions where we actually have dialogue choices and things, those are going to be in their own episodes. Even though they're part of the interaction, it's going to have its own system related to that. Before we hop into the episode, if you want to get caught up in the entire third-person action RPG tutorial series before watching this episode, you can learn how we've done things like our NPCs, our enemies, our attacks, and a lot more. Alternatively, if you only care about the interaction and finishing your interaction system, no worries, you don't have to follow the rest of the series to do this, but I do recommend that you check out at least the other interaction episodes, as we are going to be building on top of all that logic today. So with that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. Now this is a code and blueprint tutorial series. We have some interaction logic in code and some interaction logic in blueprints. So let's start in the code and let's go to our third-person tutorial character.cpp. So we're in the third-person tutorial character CPP, and we want to scroll down to our interact behavior or just search for the function. Either way is perfectly fine. When we press the interaction button, we're checking to see if the menu is open, and if not, we're checking to see if the character is alive or not. As long as they are, check to make sure that they have an actor they can interact with. However, you'll notice that our interaction behavior is not what's causing the issue. Just looking at the NPC without interacting with them is causing the issue. So let's scroll down to our tick function toward the bottom of the file here. And here is our behavior for tick. So we scroll down to where we're drawing the line for interaction, which is right here. So this is where we are drawing a debug line to visualize that. And then we're checking to see if a blocking hit occurs with this line trace right here. And if it was of type a default weapon, we were triggering the interaction pop-up, same with the equipment and same with the item. If it is an NPC, we're setting the interact actor to the NPC, but we're not doing anything else with it. This is important because we need this interact actor to be set to enter the interaction with the NPC. Now let's go to where we're calling enter interaction. So again, you could search for this, or you can just go to where it is, which is going to be in our determine overlapping interactables. You'll notice that this gets called at the end of the tick function if none of the other if or else if statements get hit. So if we're not looking at the NPC or not looking at an item or not looking at a weapon or equipment, then we'll go and check to see if we are overlapping with anything. So going back up to this function now, we were specifically looking at NPCs to start. So we were giving NPCs priority over items when using overlap logic. We were setting up an array to capture the actors, and we were getting the overlapping actors of a certain type. It's going to be our A base NPC : static class type, and we were putting them into this array. If there were any overlapping NPCs, and we cast the actor to get the NPC, and we determined if they were currently interacting. If they were currently interacting, we were exiting interaction. And if they weren't currently interacting, we were entering interaction. And here lies our issue. This determine overlapping interactables is firing on tick whenever we're not looking at something. Our logic in here was just causing an interaction, but really this isn't right. We're not supposed to just interact with them when we start overlapping with them. This was temporary logic that we put in here so that we could showcase interacting with our characters. Really what we should do here is indicate to the user or the player they can interact with this NPC. So this whole section right here, where we are determining if the NPC is interacting or not, and then exiting the interaction if so, and if they're not interacting, enter the interaction, and setting our movement states or our character states to these values, should be removed. This should be part of our interaction logic. So we can still check to see if we're overlapping with an NPC and then return that as the interact actor, because the interact actor is the actor that we can interact with if we press the interact button. But let's move this behavior out to the interact function here. So interact is here, and if we meet our requirements to be able to interact, we were calling interact BP. Now since we gave NPCs the priority when overlapping with certain actors and we're checking to see if we're overlapping with an NPC or an item, I'm going to also do our logic for NPC interaction above the items here. So I'm going to paste this here and I'm just going to comment it out so that I can relaunch the engine and show you what is in interact BP. I know we've gone over this together, but let's get caught up together. Alright, so we're back in the editor, and if we go back to our character, which is actually third person, CPP, blueprints, characters, base character BP, and we go to interact BP, you'll notice that in the previous few episodes, we were casting to see if the interact actor was of default item type. If it was, then we were doing behavior on it that we just recently cleaned up, and it's looking nice. But the reason I show you this is because we don't handle NPC interactions in the blueprint. So even though we clean this logic up, the NPC interactions have remained in code this entire time. So we're going to continue this and handle the NPC behavior in the code. So I'm going to my commented code that I just added. I'm going to uncomment it, and you'll notice we can pretty much do what we were doing in the overlap function, except we don't know if interact actor is an NPC or not. You can simply do a cast just like we usually do to solve this. So if you want, you can do if the actor is an NPC. We'll say if the actor the character is interacting with is an NPC. It'll look like if auto NPC equals interact actor. But we need to cast to a base NPC and pass in interact actor as the cast here. So if it does cast successfully, this means interact actor is an NPC, and then we can do this logic. This is a little bit more than we would actually do in this case, because when I'm interacting with an NPC, I'm likely going to have a different input to back out of the conversation or the interaction. Like for example, I might press E to interact, but I might press R to remove myself from that interaction or to back out. So this whole section here, we're checking to see if we're interacting or not, will likely change in the future, but now, just so that we don't get locked into an interaction with the NPC, this works. So now if we go and play our game, we can go over and look at our NPC, and nothing is going to happen. Now we don't have a prompt to indicate to the player that they can interact with the NPC, but if I am to press the interact button, I should interact with them. When I press the button again, I should stop interacting with them. So far, so good. Exiting interaction does not remove the dialogue choices. This is known. We haven't gone over a dialogue system yet, so if you want to get rid of it, you can select one and they will fade away. Make sure you test both overlap and hit scan, so I'm standing way too far away from our character to overlap with them. But if I press E, I can interact because I'm looking at them. You can tell by that green debug line. Now to exit interaction, I will have to be looking at them, because if I'm not looking at them, I'm actually losing my interact actor. So if my green line is over here, I don't have anything to interact with. When we are interacting with a character, we should not allow the playable character to rotate and change, so we will update that. But if I look at my character again, by also pointing the green line through them, I can press E to disable my interaction. Okay, and I got rid of the dialogue choices again. And now if I stand up close to my NPC, but I'm not looking at them, and I press E, I should also be able to interact with them. So now NPC behavior will also work based on overlap. And your weapons should still work the same. We didn't change any logic with that, but feel free to try it out, and it looks like everything does work. Next up on the list of things to handle is going to be stopping our character from losing the interaction actor while we're interacting with an NPC. So if we come back to our code and go down to our tick function, we have this section here where we're checking for our line trace that we just went over earlier. We can actually skip this whole section if the character is in the movement state or character state of interacting with an NPC, because if they are, we likely don't want to change interaction during that time. So if movement state equal E movement state colon E underscore interacting with NPC, and we can just put this entire if else statement in here. We can still have our debug line here to show what we're trying to test right now, and not equal if movement state not equal to E movement state E underscore interacting with an NPC. If the character is interacting with an NPC, let's say is not interacting with an NPC, use line traces for possible interactions. Alright, and at this point we can launch the game again. Okay, we're back in, and now I should be able to look at the NPC and press E to interact, and I can move around. And it is showing that my character's looking around, great, but even if I'm not looking at them anymore, I should be able to press E to interact again, and I can. And just to note, this is not going to ruin anything with the overlap logic, so if I'm looking this way and I'm not looking at my NPC, I'm still standing close enough to them, I can overlap interact with them, and vice versa. And I can also make sure I add items to overlap or hit scan, and everything is working as expected at this point. So now there's another thing I want to clean up in our code. We have this playable character.cpp and playable character.h. We created these for a very, very basic example. We basically just made the class and added some stuff into it as an example. This is a child of a player controller, and that is great and all. We are going to want a player controller, but we're going to make a base player controller, and we're not really utilizing this at all right now. It just exists within our project. So I'm going to delete these two files, playable character.cpp and playable character.h. And you will be able to build and launch normally, and nothing will break. And there we go, guys. So that's a very nice improvement to our interaction system, as well as some general code cleanup and logic cleanup. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it helped you with your system. If it did, please subscribe and consider joining the Patreon, YouTube membership, or Discord subscriptions to further benefit the channel. I am incredibly grateful to all who have, and it really means a lot, so thank you so much. If you ran into any problems following this tutorial or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There is a link in the description, and I would be happy to help you out. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.